May 2nd, 1947, Hamelin Prison, British-occupied Germany. A 27-year-old woman approaches the gallows, her face drained of color, her expression blank. In 15 minutes, she'll be gone, hanged until her body ceases all movement. But what sets this execution apart from countless others isn't just the method, it's what she did to deserve it. This woman didn't merely kill, she transformed cruelty into an art form. She studied pain like a scientist studies data. And when you discover the full extent of her sadism, you'll understand why even experienced executioners considered her death among the most justified in history. Her name was Dorothea Binz, and before this story ends, you'll comprehend exactly why her final moments brought such suffering, why justice required her to face the gallows, and why her case represents something more sinister than ordinary evil. This is about what happens when a regular person discovers they derive pleasure from causing agony. If you're ready to confront one of history's darkest truths, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications for Timeless World. We're diving deep into stories that most channels won't touch, the uncomfortable, the shocking, the undeniably real. Your support helps us keep bringing these critical historical lessons to light. Now let's continue. What will truly disturb you is this. Dorothea Binz wasn't born evil. She arrived in the world as an ordinary baby in a small German village, the daughter of working-class parents, a girl with simple dreams. So what transformed this regular young woman into someone so vicious that even Nazi officers found her methods extreme? The answer will shake you to your core. The Making of a Monster, March 16th, 1920. The small village of Dusterlake, Germany. A baby girl entered the world, and her parents named her Dorothea. Her father worked as a forest laborer. Her mother managed their modest home. They represented just another working-class German family struggling to survive in the chaotic aftermath of World War I. Young Dorothea experienced genuine poverty, the type where hunger becomes your constant companion. Germany during the 1920s suffered through hyperinflation and widespread desperation. In isolated villages like Dusterlake, children like Dorothea learned quickly that the world showed no mercy. She grew up quiet and withdrawn. She had few friends, and those she had, she controlled. Even at 8 years old, other children sensed something unsettling about her. She was too intense, too dominating. School proved disastrous. Teachers characterized her as difficult, sullen, uncooperative. At 14, she abandoned education completely. For several years, Dorothea drifted through meaningless jobs, feeling the crushing weight of a wasted existence pressing down on her shoulders. Then Adolf Hitler seized power, and everything transformed. The door to darkness. August 1939. Dorothea was 19 years old, trapped in another dead-end job when she noticed a recruitment announcement. The SS needed women to work as guards at a new concentration camp. The compensation was respectable. The work promised authority, structure, purpose. She applied immediately, no hesitation, and in no moral questioning. The SS accepted her without scrutiny. No psychological evaluation. They simply needed bodies. May 1st, 1939. Dorothea Binz arrived at Ravensbrück concentration camp. This wasn't just any facility. Ravensbrück was specifically designed for women prisoners. By liberation, over 130,000 women would pass through its gates. Approximately 50,000 would perish, and Dorothea loved it from the very first moment. Her training began under the camp's head wardress, a sadistic woman named Johanna Langefeld. The lessons were straightforward. Prisoners weren't human beings. Extract maximum labor from them. Beat them if they slowed down. Eliminate them if they became useless. Never show mercy. Dorothea absorbed these lessons like parched earth absorbs rain. For the first time in her miserable life, she possessed power. Real power. And something inside her, something dark that had been waiting her entire life, finally broke free. Rise of a sadist. Within weeks, other guards noticed something deeply disturbing about the new recruit. Dorothea didn't just follow orders, she exceeded them. She innovated. She discovered new methods to inflict suffering that veteran guards had never considered. And most disturbing of all, she smiled while she did it, a smile of pure, genuine pleasure. The prisoners at Ravensbrück came from all over Nazi-occupied Europe. Political dissidents, resistance fighters, Jews. Any woman the Nazis deemed undesirable ended up there. And then they encountered Dorothea Binz. She was 20 years old when she conducted her first selection, deciding who would live and who would die. Prisoners lined up like livestock. If you appeared too weak, you were selected for execution. If you looked sick, you were selected. If Dorothea simply disliked your face, you were selected. She made these decisions casually, tapping her riding crop against her palm, dispatching women to their deaths without a second thought. But selections were just the beginning. What Dorothea truly enjoyed was direct, hands-on torture. Her favorite weapon was a whip, braided leather covered in cellophane so blood would wash off easily. She called it her pet and carried it everywhere. She used it constantly, on prisoners who worked too slowly, on prisoners who made eye contact. There didn't need to be a reason. Survivor testimony described how Binz would create such terror that when she appeared at roll call, silence fell. She would order prisoners to stand at roll calls for hours, sometimes setting her German shepherd on them or kicking women to death without any sign of mercy. One survivor recounted watching Binz beat a pregnant woman until she miscarried in the camp yard. The woman was 7 months pregnant. Binz knew this. She had specifically selected the woman because of her pregnancy. Then she beat her with a wooden club until the baby died. The woman died 3 days later, and Binz went to dinner as if nothing had happened. Architect of anguish. By 1942, at just 22 years old, Dorothea had been promoted to deputy head wardress. By February 1944, she officially became deputy chief overseer. She was now responsible for training all new female guards at Ravensbrück. Think about that. This woman who had found her calling in torture was now teaching hundreds of other women how to brutalize prisoners. She was creating an army of sadists in her own image. Ravensbrück became known as a school of violence for approximately 3,500 female guards who went on to serve either there or at other concentration camps. Her training methods were hands-on. New guards would observe as Dorothea demonstrated proper beating techniques, the angle of the whip for maximum pain, how to pace a beating so the prisoner stayed conscious, how to read a prisoner's face to know when they were close to breaking. She trained some of the cruelest female guards in the Nazi concentration camp system, including the infamous Irma Grace. On one occasion, Binz observed a woman in a work detail who she felt wasn't working hard enough. She walked over to the woman, knocked her down to the ground. Ina then took a pickaxe and proceeded to chop the prisoner with it until the lifeless body was little more than a bloody lump. Once she finished, Binz cleaned her shiny boots with the dry portion of the corpse's skirt, then mounted her bicycle and leisurely pedaled her way back to camp, all as if nothing had happened. The prisoners learned to fear her above all others. When Dorothea Binz walked through the camp, women would press themselves against the walls, trying to become invisible. If she looked at you, you were in danger. If she smiled at you, you were probably going to die. The reckoning. As the war turned against Germany, conditions at Ravensbrück deteriorated catastrophically. More prisoners arrived daily. Food rations were cut to starvation levels. Disease spread unchecked. And Dorothea's response was to increase the violence, more selections, more executions, more torture. It was as if she knew the end was approaching and wanted to inflict as much damage as possible. April 1945. The war ended. Nazi Germany had surrendered. Dorothea attempted to hide. She discarded her SS uniform and tried to blend into the flood of refugees. For a few weeks she succeeded, but her victims remembered her face. May 3, 1945. British military police arrested Dorothea in Hamburg. She was living in a boarding house, working in a kitchen. When they came for her, she didn't resist. On December 5, 1946, the Ravensbrück trial began. The charges were crimes against humanity, war crimes, and mass murder. The evidence was overwhelming. Survivor after survivor took the stand. They pointed at Dorothea. They described what she'd done to them, to their friends, to their families. They wept as they testified. They showed their scars. And through it all, Dorothea remained impassive. She showed no remorse, no shame, no recognition that she'd done anything wrong. When it was her turn to testify, Dorothea was calm and articulate. Yes, she'd been a guard. Yes, she'd disciplined prisoners. But everything she'd done was within the rules. The prisoners were enemies of the state. She was just doing her job, following orders, serving her country. The prosecution destroyed her defense. They presented evidence of her initiatives, her innovations in cruelty. They showed that she went far beyond any orders. They proved she'd acted out of personal sadism, not military necessity. On February 3, 1947, the verdict arrived, guilty on all counts. The British military tribunal found that Dorothea Binz had willfully and systematically murdered prisoners, that she'd exceeded any legitimate authority, that she'd acted with exceptional cruelty, even by Nazi standards. For these crimes, she was sentenced to death by hanging. When the sentence was read, Dorothea finally showed emotion. Not remorse, not fear, but anger. Pure rage. Hours after her death sentence was confirmed on March 31, 1947, she attempted to kill herself by slashing her wrists. However, prison officials intervened before she could bleed to death. The final walk, May 2, 1947, execution day. Dorothea awoke knowing what awaited her. The guards reported she'd barely slept, just paced and muttered, occasionally laughing, a high, hysterical sound. At dawn, the guards came for her. She refused her final meal, refused to change into clean clothes. The walk to the execution chamber was measured in steps, each one bringing her closer to justice. She was 27 years old, young enough that she might have lived another 50 years. She'd chosen violence. Now violence was choosing her. The execution chamber was located in Hamelin Prison. Witnesses were present: British military officers, legal observers, a doctor. The executioner was Albert Pierre Point, Britain's most experienced hangman who had perfected his craft to ensure death came swiftly. Pierre Point's method was precise. The prisoner would be walked to a marked spot on the trap door, a white hood would be placed over the prisoner's head, and a noose around the neck. The metal eye through which the rope was looped was positioned under the left jawbone, which, when the prisoner dropped, we would force the head back and break the spine. From entering the condemned prisoner's cell to opening the trap door, Pierre Point's maximum time was 12 seconds. Dorothea was led onto the platform. Standard procedure called for restraints on hands and legs. The guards positioned her on the trap door, and that's when Dorothea broke. She started screaming. Not words, just raw animal sounds of terror and rage. She tried to fight the guards, tried to throw herself off the platform. The executioner approached with the hood. Dorothea fought it, jerking her head back and forth. Finally, the hood was secured. She stood on the trap door, hooded, bound, screaming into darkness. The executioner positioned the noose around her neck. He pulled the lever. The trap door opened. Dorothea Binz dropped. At 9:34 a.m., justice was served. The uncomfortable truth. Dorothea Binz's execution brought no one back from the dead. It didn't heal the survivor's trauma. It didn't undo years of suffering. But it did one thing. It proved that even in the darkest times, even when evil seems to have won, justice eventually catches up. Here's what we must understand about people like Dorothea Binz. She chose her path, not once, but every single day for 6 years. She chose cruelty over compassion, violence over mercy, power over humanity. Every morning she woke up and decided to be a monster. The Nazi ideology gave her permission. The camp system gave her opportunity. But the evil came from inside her. It was always there, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge. This is the terrifying truth. People like Dorothea Binz walk among us. They look normal, and they smile and laugh and blend in. But given the right circumstances, given permission and opportunity, they transform into something monstrous. Between 1939 and 1945, approximately 130,000 prisoners passed through the Ravensbrück camp system. About 50,000 perished from disease, starvation, overwork, and despair. Some 2,200 were murdered in the gas chambers. These weren't just numbers. They were mothers, daughters, sisters, women whose lives were stolen by people who discovered they enjoyed causing pain. The survivors of Ravensbrück never forgot Dorothea Binz. They carried her memory as a warning. This is what humans are capable of. This is what we must guard against in ourselves and others. Here's what I need you to do right now. Subscribe to Timeless World and share this video. These stories matter. History's darkest chapters teach us the most important lessons about human nature, about the fragility of civilization, and about the eternal need for vigilance against evil. Drop a comment below telling me what historical figure we should cover next. And remember, those who forget history are doomed to repeat it. Don't let these lessons fade into obscurity. I'll see you in the next one.